do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I just had an announcement. This meeting is informational, public and discoverable. I'd like to talk about the role of the Highland Township Government Study Commission. Our first considerable task was to research and study the second-class township code and municipal government, to discover in it any weaknesses, to look outside the municipality to see if there might be improved practices that may be applied or adopted, to develop from our study an arrangement for better government, then to decide if our local government shall remain unchanged or decide to write a charter for the citizens of Highland Township to vote on. We are now near the end of the research stage. The interview today and the meeting to be held on July 21st at 7 here at the Township Building with the Home Rule Municipality, Grant Township, will conclude our study. We will make the final decision to write or not to write a home rule charter on or after July 31st public hearing. All right, I'd like to now open up for public comment.
You say you're going to meet with Grant Township.
On July 21st, we're going to have a meeting, and they're going to have a conference call.
Okay,
With
with
us.
their home rule study. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, we're going to be talking with
Stacy Long.
Stacy Long, who was the chair and the supervisor now.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to be talking to them via conference call up here on July 21st at
Will
7.
it be an open meeting too?
Yep, it'll be a regular home rule
Okay,
commission meeting.
thank you.
All right.
Okay.
We
Okay.
never set up with who would.
Want to come join us because we're asking you the questions.
Yeah.
We're fine here. Well, if we sit there, we'll sit with our back to the audience, that's what we're.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we just come up with about 25 different questions here. And like I said, like John said, the purpose of this is just to study our own Highland Township government, how it works, what doesn't work, what does work, if it needs a change, if it's working, if it's not, that kind of stuff. So we just come up with a bunch of questions for you guys. So I guess I'll start out with the first question. Have any of you investigated the idea of home rule in Highland Township?
You want to offer them one of these questions?
We do have copies of all these questions if you'd like a copy of them. Do you understand the idea of home rule in Highland Township?
I understand home rule, but I don't want home rule,
Somewhat, we had Elam Herr here and explained it to us. I thought he covered it pretty well.
What do you think about home rule in Highland Township?
Depends on what you wanna do with it. There's good points and there's bad points to home rule. So that's it just depends on what you wanna do with it.
What would be an example of the good point or the bad point?
I really don't know because I haven't studied it, I don't know.
Like one of my, okay, like one of the, I'm just talking personally. We haven't deliberated and figured out, we're not done with our all of our study yet, but for me, I'm just thinking that it would be good for Highland Township just to give the voters a chance of initiative and referendum, basically giving them a right to vote on some local matters. Not all local matters, but most of them.
Right.
That, and then, actually, I don't know. And then the other thing is, I wanted to see, my personal idea would, and this is up to if everybody was interested in that, I would like to put a Bill of Rights in there for people, say, so that corporations don't have more rights than we do. And then, other than that, I've just, everything would stay the same.
But can you do that in a legal way? You know, that's the other question. You can't do anything illegal because
Correct. That's
that
correct.
just
Right.
throws out the whole thing. So, you know, that's just my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you see any advantages to home rule in Highland Township?
Well, till the study's done, I couldn't answer that.
I've talked to a couple different people that live in home rule charters. Half of them like it, the other half don't. It could go either way. My theory of it is, if home rule charter's that good, how come there's only 1 or 2% of the township that have home rule?
I have a theory on that. My personal theory is people don't like change.
Well, I don't know. That's my question. I'm keeping a
afraid to
note of
change.
mind on it until I see what comes out.
And the half that do not, what, do they give you any reasons why, or
Mayhem.
mayhem, chaos? Okay.
You know what I'm talking about.
Different than what our current second class township is. Different than what our current second class
Yes,
township is.
yes.
Because I've been up to some pretty mayhem prevalent meetings
Oh, yeah.
run under the second class township. Any disadvantages besides the mayhem?
Yeah, and
We'd have to see what the charter's written up and what it carries when it comes out.
If it comes out.
That's right.
Currently, do you feel like there are things that can make your job easier? That we might be able to, some things that aren't working for you, things that make your job easier?
there's a possibility, but I really can't think of them right off the top of my head. But there's always a possibility.
One example, my opinion, is like, right now, the 3 supervisors make the decision on, ordinances. It'll take the burden off of you guys also to put it into the public's hands on what the public wants as an ordinance.
Right.
That's an example right there, is that it'll give that pressure off of you guys instead of 3 people making that decision. It'll give it to the whole Highland Township makes that decision.
I understand, and I don't see a problem with that, but again, you know, it still has to be illegal, you know, you can't
Right.
do that and end up in another court battle. You know,
Absolutely.
that's
The legal
who's gonna
part,
do
yeah.
that.
Taking the burden off the supervisors is if we had the right to referendum initiative.
Right.
When you're talking about a court battle, you're talking about if we were to put a Bill of Rights in there against
Well,
corporations.
it could be anything that somebody could come back and sue you for that they don't like. I mean, you'd have to study it before you wanted to make an ordinance, you know. You can't just off the top of your head come up with an ordinance, you know.
Exactly. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like, say somebody, you guys, write an ordinance up about dogs. Okay? Put it to the voters whether they want to have dogs or no dogs.
Oh, I see what's wrong with that at all.
Right, that's the only, my personal opinion, that's the thing, is to give the rights like that back to the people instead of making 3 people make that decision. Give it back to the community of all of Highland Township.
I have a question. You know, that we have an election to vote supervisors in because we feel, the ones that we vote for, we feel would do what we would want them to do. And just because they don't always do what we want, doesn't mean that it's wrong. And why would it be any different for the whole township to vote on something that the supervisors have already voted on? How, would it come out any different than just what the supervisors are doing?
I'm not sure if it'd be coming out, personally, I don't know if it'd come out any differently. I think there would be more, if everybody had a vote,
Everybody already
Then-
has a vote to vote for the supervisors.
if everybody had a vote on major issues, instead of leaving just 3 people try to make those decisions for, minority making decisions for majority, and everybody has to live with the consequences, they'd get more feedback if everybody voted. They'd know how everybody wants.
But everybody has voted for the supervisors that are in there to make decisions for us. I thought that's why we voted for supervisors.
The only difference would be is if it was a home rule, your actual vote would count to change or make that ordinance happen.
Yeah, but that would have to go to a referendum. and
Right,
be
there's
brought
still
up
gonna
in
be,
the
there will still be
election cycle.
Yeah, there would be
supervisors.
still
There
supervisors.
Yeah,
still
that's-
will be
those- those-
So we have to
supervisors.
go to an
We're not
election
taking,
cycle.
that's not what
So
home
it'd be,
rule is about, is
um,
taking that away.
Okay, I got one comment. We as supervisors face a major problem, and it's money. Not money, lack of money. Since I've been in office, our finances have dropped 50%, our contribution. We're scrambling like heck, just to either pay the bills or to get enough material to survive. That's a big problem. Home rule's not gonna change that. They're not gonna get us any money. The township is small enough, we could raise taxes like a son of a gun and still not get a lot of money. So we've got, money is our big deal. That's probably the largest item we have right now to battle with.
Jim, at one time, this township had over $1 million.
Yeah,
Now, is it down that much further?
we're down about $300,000 or $400,000.
3 or 4, so you're talking
I
like
think
700?
you're an auditor, you saw what it was.
Yeah, that's not, I knew it was
But
over $1 million at
That's
one
an,
time.
that's an emergency fund,
Take the next section.
Well, we know the rec was one of them, the 2 recs.
Well, we paid for that with Act 13 money.
Oh, that was Act 13 money, okay. So what was the majority taking the initial, of the amount?
The Forest Service dropped our, we're down, we're getting $75,000 a year from the Forest Service. Before when I took office, we were getting 120, 150, so we're down 50%.
You were getting more Act.
And that was our big money.
You were getting more Act 13 money too.
No, we're getting less. We only got
You
30.
were getting
Yeah,
more,
we're
yeah.
getting, we were getting 80, 90,000 a year,
Now-
so
now
we're down
it's
less. So we're working with basically 50% of what we got, and it's tough. It creates hard feelings for everybody when you tell them we can't, we don't have the money to do it.
I understand that.
Yeah, that's our biggest problem. And I wanted to bring that up so everybody knew about it. But, we as the 3 supervisors, we're fighting like heck to try and keep it where it
Keep it
belongs.
afloat.
Well, Jim, in a way, don't you think, because home rule, and I'm not putting this all on you, but I think it's more, if we all became cognizant that we are getting restricted on our budget, it'd get people more aware and get people more fixed of what's going on in the township. That way we can all, as a community, help budget our money. And the press isn't all on you. I mean, the whole thing is, we want home rule, or if home rule does go, to get people more aware and not have people just up here crying going, in some of the meetings we've seen people going, why can't my road be fixed? Why can't it? The whole thing is we have to get people more involved in Highland Township to make Highland Township better.
Well, here's the thing.
How you gonna get them more involved when they don't come up to the meetings
We'll
and
just tell them, give them a
Some just don't
1-minute
care.
warning
Well,
at court.
I'll make a
3.
correction on that. We as Highland Township probably have more people at our meetings than any of the other townships around.
We'll be
So we
moving
do
on to the
have
next
a good
section in 1 minute.
participation, good, bad, or indifferent people show up. Now, you said something about, people get, if and when you make that decision, it might be 6 months before you'll be able to make that decision. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, exactly.
And then it's beyond the time.
Well, there's an example where we were looking at possibly emergency town meetings. And what that would say, for example, if we had a holdup or a hanging decision where we had to vote in a supervisor, we wouldn't have to wait for a judge, for example. We'd be able to have an emergency town meeting based on some criteria, and we'd have to follow
Well, it
protocol.
depends upon how you set up the
And then-
home rule charter, you know.
Right, and then 51% of the voters would decide who they want to be a supervisor.
That's
But
something that's
in
gonna
those
be
kind of-
addressed. I mean, it has to be in the charter.
But when you're saying 6 months,
Oh,
we
you only
could-
got two election cycles.
right. Well, what I'm saying is we could have an emergency, one for actual emergencies where we could have an emergency town hall meeting and that's
You'd
been
have to
effective.
write it in the charter.
Right.
See, that's the problem too, getting enough people to come to the meetings. I don't care if you're home rule or regular second-class township, when the meetings are held here, you're still not gonna get the same turnout as you do in an election.
I agree.
All right, get the next question.
All right, our next question. Are there any local decisions that you feel that should be out of your hands?
Not off the top of my head.
Excuse me?
Not off the top of my head. Not at the moment.
No, we took an oath to serve the township, so we gotta address all the issues.
Do you feel the same way, Glenn?
All right, the next section is, I'll be asking, the role of township supervisors. How well do you understand your role as a township supervisor?
Well, learning every day. Haven't been in there a year yet, I'm learning. I know it's our job to protect the taxpayers' money, make sure we don't have to raise taxes, pass a proper budget so we don't have to do that. That's probably the most important role.
Can
Anybody
I
else on
ask a
that?
question? How many times have you been into the budget since you adopted it this year?
I don't think we have one.
You haven't
We
been?
did once.
Since the mission, before, but you didn't set up the initial one, so you weren't there. And you've never gotten back into the budget since then?
No, we-
You can't get into the budget
No.
after February 15th.
Yeah, I knew that,
Yeah.
definitely.
no.
But you've never been around in there
No,
moving money or
It has to be a
anything?
public meeting,
Yeah.
we do.
Everything
Answer
has
that
to
one
be
now
public.
already.
Okay. I was curious.
All right, what do you believe are the duties and obligations of a township supervisor? Can you answer that?
Again, manage the taxpayers' money.
Where do you believe these duties and obligations come from?
Second-class township code.
Do you ever feel crippled by the second-class township code? If so, how?
Well, I can't really think of any
No.
instances.
Or do you feel like there are any issues that you would wish you had more local control or authority over?
So I think it's pretty well covered.
Do you feel, Glenn, that you are crippled by it?
Yes.
How do you feel you're crippled by it?
Actually, I'm not at liberty to discuss that because it was discussed in executive session.
Okay. You want somebody else to read this third one? Or? Matt's right here, the third one? It's a long thing.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Have you ever reviewed the Second Clan Township Code, guys?
Numerous times, I have.
Have you spent a lot of time reviewing it?
I think we all have a copy of it and carry it with us when we come to the meetings also.
Do you believe the Second Township Code is working?
Yeah.
Is it not working for the township, or is it working for the township as you see it?
Working, I feel.
What do you believe in the Second Township Code is working, And what do you believe is not working?
Well,
I mean, do you view it all as a perfect fit for Highland Township?
yeah, like I said, I've gone over it 3 or 4 times, but I can't remember everything yet, so
Then you wouldn't be expected to.
I really can't answer that question.
Is there anything the other two gentlemen would like to see changed, or it's not working for it?
I think if we follow the rules, it works pretty well. Yeah?
Does the second-class township code provide supervisors with sufficient power to make important decisions for the township?
Yes.
Well, how do you view that it does provide you with the power to do that?
I mean, it gives you it gives you the rules you abide by, rules you gotta follow.
And the rules are to protect the taxpayers. That's what the code's all about.
Do you think the citizens of Highland Township should have a greater voice in government? If so, how might they look at it? If not, I mean, do you think that they should have a greater role in it? Do you think that people should have a greater say if they come up to the meeting?
Sure.
That's why we have meetings, for their opinions. I'm not saying that we can do everything, but that's what it's all about.
Are there certain things that people in a township level should have more control over? Or do you think it should be on the supervisors to make that decision?
Well, it is our decision, but, like I said, that's why we have meetings. People come up here and voice their concerns. Some things you can do something about, some things maybe you can't, but, that's how it's set up. I mean, you gotta follow the law, number one.
Is the law permanent or inflexible? Or is it something that we should grow and change as needs as the community grow and change?
We don't have the power to change that law.
Yeah, but the second class township act is amended. And it's looked at continuously.
Right, it's amended every 3 years.
Do you
But
have,
we as supervisors don't have the authority to change that code.
do you have the authority to recommend changes when they amend that second class township code, or do they, somebody in Harrisburg just does it? Do they consult
Well, they-
townships?
If you have an opinion on something,
No.
you're free to call PSATs and they'll bring it up.
You know, Mike hit on a point. You know, we've got PSATs, the Pennsylvania State Association of Township Supervisors. They work for the township. They work with legislators and everything else. And if we have a problem, we can call them and state our problem, and they will work with the legislators and whoever to solve that problem. I've done that numerous times with them. I've asked questions. In fact, I just asked questions of them the other day and got an answer, called back within an hour. So, you know, they are leading people to guide us when we need help.
Even if Highland Township would go with, I asked the PSAC guy when he was up here, even if we would decide to write a charter and everything would go, PSATs would still
PSAS would represent.
be
Yes,
representing us.
yes, you're right.
Because you're township first,
Your township.
second class township, right?
Are there any decisions currently being made in Harrisburg that they feel negatively affect the impact of the township's ability to manage its business?
No,
I have one. The governor wants a extraction fee and do away with Act 13 money. He's been fighting with that since he's been in office. And I see this last budget, there was nothing mentioned of an extraction fee. so that we get Act 13 for another year. That affects us as much as anything.
Are there certain matters that the state and Harrisburg have control over that you think maybe the township should be more at a township level? Like maybe the Act 13 money? If we depend on that as an income, don't you think we should have more of a say as a township whether that,
Well,
I think they have it pretty well covered.
I mean, PSATs, they fight for us for that. I mean, they fight for us for anything that, some townships don't like. They fight and they lobby and they try to get it changed. Can't think of any lately right off the top of my head, but they do a very good job at that.
are there disadvantages to having the state government control decisions about who gets to use the land and how they use the land in Highland Township?
Well, the only way the government creates that is an Forest Service.
Does-
They're the only ones that control that land. We don't.
Right.
We have nothing to say about that.
Exactly. Do you think there's disadvantages in not having anything to say with that?
There's disadvantages and advantages. The only disadvantage, we can't control legislation on it. We can't say who goes in there and who comes out, who builds a road there or not. That's not our decision.
But yeah, we still have to maintain it.
No, we don't have to maintain their own private roads.
Okay.
That becomes, if you maintain their roads, that becomes an agreement between the township and the Forest Service.
Right. Okay, my next question, how do you feel about a citizens initiative process? Should citizens be able to vote on legislation? Like in Harrisburg or in Highland or,
Sure, everybody should have a say.
do you have any other opinions so far on home rule as a form of government? Not just the charter, just a home rule as a form of government in general?
No, like I said earlier, it could be a good thing, it could be a bad thing. It just depends on how it's set up. I don't have a problem with it if it's a good thing whatsoever.
Have you talked with anybody from other home rule municipalities?
Are you available on the 21st to come up and listen to what Grant Township has to say?
Yeah,
Nope.
Because they're one, that Stacy Long is a township supervisor. Also, they are home ruled.
It's this
Yeah.
Thursday.
if I don't have anything going on.
That's this Thursday.
I don't know how well it's gonna be with the conference call though, I mean.
Do you have any feelings about the current ongoing government study in Highland Township?
I'm staying neutral.
Glenn, do you have any feelings of
My personal feelings
don't matter?
don't matter on this.
And we're actually at our final section here. Are there any recent examples of threats to the township where you felt the township lacked the power that it needed to take action?
Well, sure, you know all know what it is. Well, but, number one, we have to follow the law, that's our job. Number two, we have to protect taxpayers' money. Now, if we fight that and lose, and every taxpayer in this township, people in Highland don't have nothing to do with James City. I don't feel that's right, that you're gonna try to force them to pay.
I got
That's our job.
I got a thing on that for you. You're wrong on that question because James City does have everything to do with Russell City's water supply, and they have everything to do with
Right,
Highlands.
but that injection well infects their well, not whatsoever, their wells.
If
at
it
all.
infects our well up here, because the fire department hauls water, it's been hauling water to Russell City for the past,
what, 8,000 gallons down there, Jim?
Yeah,
Just in a month last year?
about a month, yeah.
Personally, I just hauled 4,000 gallons over to Highland for Highland water supply last week. So it does affect all of Highland Township, because when there's something wrong with theirs, guess who provides that water for Highland Township? James City does. If something happens to our well, that's screwing them too. All the communities right there.
Right, but, if something did happen, they would survive, and still be able to keep their home.
So is that why our water bill went up?
No, it's not.
We don't have any idea. We're the Home Rule Study Commission. That's not what this meeting's about.
No, I just said, he said they were hauling.
Not out of the supply of
That's-
James
that's
City.
not-
It's not being.
That's not what
hauled
this
out.
meeting's about.
No.
That's not what this meeting's about.
Yeah, I know. I'm just giving Mike an example of.
If the
it
law
affects.
keeps township supervisors from protecting the rights of township residents, do the supervisors nonetheless have a duty to protect those rights that are being violated?
Within the scope of the law,
Do you want the citizens of Highland Township to show you more support for or against certain decisions that you're making?
we want citizens to show support, is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Of course.
Well, there's another part to that. With
Which-
the binding vote.
Yeah, with the binding, which, if so, which decisions would you like to see that support or opposition on?
You're asking a facetious question, because we don't know what that thing would be until it comes up.
Currently, in your job so far as supervisor, I'm trying to do is try to figure out, try to learn about your job.
Well, it's important. Like I said earlier, people's opinions matter, and if legally we can do something, of course we would. But, other than that, that's where our hands are tied.
If the group study commission ends up writing a charter, is there anything that you would like to see in it?
I don't know, I'd have to answer that after I see what you have on.
I'd have to study the charter and see what's in it and make a decision after that. But like I said, I'm staying neutral.
Like when we have a public meeting, we're gonna be asking citizens and people what they would like to see in the home rule
As you
draft.
should.
Because we're supposed to be representatives of the community of Highland Township.
Right.
So we're supposed to project what they want in the charter.
And you should do that.
Are the supervisors gonna be
You're
there?
bound by law to do that, aren't you?
Yeah, but what you're saying is, once we draft the charter,
Answer your question.
I don't know, I've never been that far in a study like that. If we drafted a charter and then people looked at it, I don't know if we could amend it then.
It's
I'm
on
just saying,
the
we-
website.
We're supposed to draft a charter based on people's wants, or what their ideas are, what they feel they need.
Are supervisors gonna be available when we do have these public meetings for writing, if we even do? Are the supervisors available for the meetings at night where if we do write this charter or whatever, are they guys available to be there so you know what's all going on, and if you have anything to add to it, you can add to it?
Sure. I'll make myself available.
Any public comment?
Yep, that was me.
How many members do you have currently?
Currently, we have 6 members and 1 open vacancy.
Okay, that's what I thought, okay.
We have put out a ad for that and nobody's responded.
I was just wondering if anybody responded.
Thank you guys for your time.
Thank you very much for your time, guys.
Meeting adjourned.